as you remember, we learned in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yossi argued on the rabbis, and he maintained that the hatra, the warning, has to be done by one of the witnesses. Again, we have two witnesses in every crime, and in order to give a punishment, we also need a hatra, which is a warning, right? Mm-hmm. And we learned Gemara before, that the hatra, this warning, could be done by anybody. There's even in Gemara that says
except
that
for
even
a woman.
We didn't say that. No, it's not true. It's not except for a woman. This even a woman could do. Witnessing, to be a witness, a woman is not kosher. But hatra, even a woman is kosher.
But it's a certain
Not
level
only-
of testimony that I gave him a warning.
Oh, that's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says that it has to be done by one of the witnesses, and they have to testify that he heard the testimony.
So it has to be a woman and a man. A man has to testify that the woman warned him.
No. There's no testimony. According to Vipaskin, the hatra could be done by anybody. Anybody screamed out from anywhere. He screamed out from passing by. He was passing by. We don't know who it is, but he screamed out, "If you kill him, you're going to get killed in Bedin." And he sped away. Gemara says, "Afilu shade," even demon, even one of those we had before. There's machlokit, what it means. Did we have sheidim or no? But this Gemara holds that there were sheidim, and even if shade screamed out, it's kosher. We discussed last time already.
Right.
Yeah, remember? Good.
Then the lights went on.
Rambam said that there's no such thing.
And Rambam holds that there's no,
There's no
He
what?
made sure.
there's no sheidim. He
Remember
holds
that
that there was no sheidim.
I guess you also don't.
He didn't
believe
believe in sheidim. Others, all other Rishonim argue on him.
I'll have no comment on
No
that.
comment.
Today, obviously, we don't know. We don't see sheidim.
No,
I don't want to see any sheidim.
I see shading, but
Uh-oh.
they're in living people's bodies.
What do you mean?
Some people are like
Yeah,
sheidim.
shading. It's inside of them. You see it.
Okay, also possible, but that's what Rambam held. So now it says like this: Rabbi Yossi says that it had to be one of the people. So Gemara says this. Rabbi Yossi says that no person can be executed unless both witnesses who testify against him had warned him. This makes it clear that Rabbi Yossi requires a warning as a formal precondition for issuing a death sentence. He says that it's a official precondition.
That sounds like the right thing to do. You can't kill anybody without warning that you're going to kill them,
For sure.
right?
Agreed, right. That's for sure. And that's exactly, I think, why there is a requirement.
I mean, but like for murder, do you really need a warning?
Yeah, some things are so obvious.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
Some things are so obvious. Even breaking Shabbat, it's very obvious. You know.
I mean, breaking Shabbat, sometimes you don't know what's breaking, what's not breaking.
No, but some malachot are like clearly obvious. Starting a fire, right? That was how it all started. From this one instance, starting a fire.
Shabbat,
Starting a
there's-
fire
Shabbat,
is not
there's
like
so many
you trip
rules.
and you started a fire.
Shabbat you might not know, but murder, like you obviously know.
Let's see next Gemara. Maybe it will shed some light to our discussion.
Oh, very good.
And by the way, some murders, I see the warning with murder because it could be a heated thing. The
Yeah.
warning is supposed to cool you down and give you level headed because sometimes a person could kill under passion.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know.
Oh, we're actually going to see this. I don't want to jump into conclusions. Let's see the Gemara. Amar le Rav Papa le Abai. Rav Papa said to Abai, Umi'it le Rabbi Yossi hai svara. Does Rabbi Yossi hold of this view? Vahatnan. Have we not learned in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi Omer, Rabbi Yossi says, Hasoneh ne'erag. Rabbi Yossi says that enemy is executed for killing his foe. Even if he was not warned prior to killing, he cannot claim as a defense that the killing was an accident, Because he is considered alerted and forewarned. Since he hated his victim, it may be assumed that he killed him deliberately. Thus, we see that Rabbi Yossi does not require a warning as a normal precondition for that sentence wherever the transgressor's intent is clear. He's saying like this, that soneh, if these two people have a prehistory, they hate each other, everyone knows about it, we know that they hate each other, then it says you don't need, then we could kill him. And then one of them kills another. According to Rabbi Yossi said that we could kill,
You could
execute him without any warning.
It's like this case that was recently in the news, where an Arab guy in France threw a Jewish lady from the third floor and he killed her.
Get out.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
First time I
Did
hear
you
this.
read it? This was in like a couple of years ago,
Oh.
2018.
Okay.
But only now they came up with a verdict that he's not guilty because he was like I don't know, under the
Schizo?
influence. Yeah. Or schizophrenic. Although he did yell out Allah Akbar before throwing her out of the window, and yet they said because he was like a schizo, that he's not guilty.
Well, it could be he was a schizo. You don't know.
I think that this Gemara really
But yeah, I mean,
is clear.
he clearly there was some hatred.
Right. I don't think you're supposed to exempt a schizo from committing a crime. Come on, give me a break. Just because they're crazy doesn't mean he's going to be free. He has to go to the insane asylum. Doesn't mean he's a dangerous to society person. He's able to kill. Okay, so
Agreed,
he's not going to rot in jail.
Agreed.
I'm just saying, in France, I'm sure they're not going to go free like that.
Well, Gemara is telling us, according to this, thank you very much, Nick, for
Yeah.
bringing up this point. The Gemara is telling us that.
This lady, elderly lady.
Hold on a minute. So,
He was going crazy due to taking drugs.
that's what they say. Okay, whatever. Listen, but
But why was he in her place?
I don't know. I think they
She
lived
sold
in
him the
same-
drugs.
They lived in the
Come
same
on.
building.
Huh.
so we're just trying to observe, just digest what Gemara just said. Gemara is saying that if we could, it's like we are supplying the motive. Are we trying to supply the motive over here? That doesn't make sense to me. What exactly Gemara is saying? Gemara is saying that if they hate each other and everyone knows it, he doesn't need a warning. I understand. Maybe there's two different things. One is hating, another one is knowing the consequences of murder. We're saying that it wasn't accident. It was not accident because they hated each other. That's true, but the warning is not there to determine if it was an accident or not.
Right.
It's there for a different reason. That we can. The way I understand it is to determine that he's fully cognizant of the consequences of his behavior, and he does not have false expectation, does not have full illusion that he is not going to be
I mean, he went there for a reason.
prosecuted.
Right. If they're enemies and somebody went to their enemy, he went there for a reason. He knew what he was doing. He was well aware that I'm going to confront them or I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that.
It could be that Rabbi Yossi is saying that it's preemptive. It's preemptive murder.
Yes.
It's not self-defense. It's not in the heat of the moment. It's preemptive murder.
Right. Would it be the other way that
So
let's say A and B are enemies, A came to B and then B killed A.
No,
What could
that's
that be
all-
considered?
That's all depends.
Right. So that's not right.
again,
What is it considered in
the
that
two
case?
guys are enemies, right?
Two guys are enemies. A and B are enemies. A came to B.
Okay.
Right? In this case, A didn't have to be warned because then A's intent is to come to B. And but in the case where A came to B and B is the one that murdered A,
He came to kill, but he got killed.
yeah.
Let's say we don't know what he came from.
1 second. Therefore, what do you want to bring?
Therefore, is it the same? Are you going to consider that as? Are you going to consider that as self-defense, or what's that considered?
That could be. Hi, Raman. That could be considered very well self-defense because the halacha is that if someone comes to kill you, you should kill him first.
Right.
Yeah. So then probably.
Did B have to be warned about the consequences of killing somebody?
No, because he has a full right to do it.
Right, because you're right.
He has a right to do it, right?
Right, so what are we
It's a
talking
green light.
about then with two enemies? What, it's a little bit of, it's a broad stroke, as they say.
Yeah.
We need a little bit more context there, because, listen, two enemies see each other. Who is the one who does need to be warned? The guy defending himself or the guy attacking? It's obvious, to us, it's obvious it's the guy attacking, right?
Come, sit down. You feeling okay?
Yeah. Shoot him up. Shoot him up.
Все нормально?
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case.
Температуру снять?
У меня нормально.
Okay, fine.
My mother got tested positive, so, but
How long ago?
last week.
Oh, I see.
But I'm not really in touch with her. I saw her before that week, but I'm fine. I got
Okay.
tested positive.
Okay, fine.
Negative.
Yeah,
I got tested negative today.
Okay.
You know?
Good. Welcome back. Okay. So honestly, I don't know. I usually. So you asking me, what about self-defense? I think we made it clear. Self-defense. If he could somehow prove that he killed in self-defense, he's cut-free.
So Rabbi Yossi is not talking about self-defense, obviously.
No.
He's talking about someone who came, preemptively tried to kill someone.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see a little more. Maybe we'll understand Rabbi Yossi more.
Where are we? Which line from the bottom?
Fine.
From the bottom, it's
Is that or no? Zayin. That's it. Okay, right here. Amar.
Amarlei. First line is Neherag. First word on line is Neherag. Amarlei.
Nerag.
Mm-hmm.
Amar there.
Yeah, you have that? Amarlei. Abaye said to Rav Papa. Abaye said to Rav Papa. Rav Papa was the one who just said this, asked this question. How could Rabbi Yossi say that someone who hates does not need a warning? Hahu Rabbi Yossi bar Yehudei. This Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. This Rabbi Yossi is actually Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda and not Tana generally referred to Rabbi Yossi. Why? Because we learned in the Braita, he was going to bring a proof. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Omer, Chaver en sarich hatra, that a scholar does not need a warning. Lefi shelo nitna hatra el lavchin ben shogig lemezin. Because warning was only required to distinguish between unintentional offender and the deliberate one. Shogeg to mizid. Thus we see that indeed Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda is the Tana who does not require a warning as a formal precondition for a death sentence.
Okay.
Meaning like this. They claim that there is a concept of formal precondition, which I also don't understand. Formal precondition before sentencing. Formal precondition is like a check. Was there warning? Yeah, check. Were there witnesses? Check. Formal checks, formalities, once formalities are there, go to be sentenced. So, so we're saying, if it's formal precondition, then soneh, someone who is a hater, he doesn't need this formal precondition, because the formal precondition means, was he really what did he really want to kill him? Was there a malignant intention here? So that's why warning. So in other words, this is how we could differentiate that there is a machloket. What is warning? According to the shita that holds the soneh does not need warning. A hater does not need warning. It's only to establish that there was a malignant intention over here. So we have two witnesses who see that murder, and we need a warning, meaning one guy has to say, you're not allowed to kill him, to put him into calm him down a little bit, to understand the consequences of his behavior, and he still kills him. So then we know that he was really malignant. But and therefore, if it's a soneh, we don't need it. Why? Because we know that he wants to do malignant, he wants to do bad things. We know it.
What does soneh mean?
Hate. There is a hatred between them. There's a
Sinat Chanam is like senseless hatred.
Yeah, there is like already existent fight between them, but there is altogether different approach to learn Hadra. What is that? Who Quran? In whole different view of what Atra is, not just formal precondition, meaning to establish that he really wanted to, he was determined to kill him. It wasn't just accident, but something else. Like it says over here, to distinguish between shogeg to mezid. Shogeg means someone who does not know halacha, and mezid, someone who knows the halacha. In other words, shogeg is someone who doesn't know, he forgot that he's not allowed to kill. It's hard to imagine this.
Or you forgot it's Shabbos.
Yeah, we say in Halachot of Shabbat there is a concept of shogeg. Someone woke up in the morning, he turned on the light because he forgot that it's Shabbat, it's shogeg. Or there is even bigger shogeg. He forgot that it's asur to turn on the light on Shabbat. There's two types of shogeg. Either he could forget that it's day of Shabbat, or he could forget that it's asur to, he remembers that it's Shabbat, but it's asur to turn on the light. So you see that people, so there is a concept that people
But back
forget.
in the day, turning on the light was actually making a fire.
Okay, therefore.
Therefore, how do you forget that?
No, you forget it's
Forget
Shabbat.
anything.
I'm saying people forget that it's allowed or not allowed.
Just because there's more work, you see,
A lot
you
more work.
forget less. If you forgot, you forgot. Doesn't make a difference how much work it takes. Now there's so much work, I won't forget. Forgot is forgot, you know?
Oh, the work will remind you.
Hopefully, you know?
No, he's saying
You never
these days it's a little habitual.
These days it's like-
You
it's
wake
like-
up
it's
and you
like
hit
you
the
touch the
wall,
wall.
okay,
You touch the wall
or
out
you
of
wake up, you go
reflex.
like this.
Yeah, when Mashiach comes, he's gonna let us use light switch.
No, we're saying it's not because it's easier to do, but once you forget, you forget. I
No, I'm
don't
saying
think
is that when you hit the light switch, it's at a reflex. You just go like that at a reflex.
so that's altogether
Turn on,
different.
turn
That's
off.
altogether different thing. It's not because you forgot. It's because it's mindless action.
Mindless, yeah, it's habitual.
A mindless action has a different category altogether.
Is the Gemara?
It's
It's
not
even,
considered-
it's even less. It's even
Oh.
less.
Rabbi,
It's even less.
is
Yeah.
the Gemara gonna go over what is considered accident and what is considered on purpose? Shogeg and mezid, to distinguish.
No, Gemara is not going to
Oh.
say it because all over Shas, all over the Talmud, it's already established. You don't
So
need,
it's like.
it's
okay.
very clear what's shogeg, what's mizid. Shogeg means that he forgot that the halacha is that you're not allowed to kill.
Could be
Forgot
certain.
or didn't know.
There is a discussion later. What if a person has a shita? He is of the opinion that you are allowed to kill.
I could see where a person
It's
could
a
forget.
it's an ideology like that. In other words, he feels he has some kind of convoluted
No.
worldview where he feels that you're allowed to kill.
Okay, but that's a whole different story.
No,
That's
For
a,
nothing? For
That's a
nothing?
belief system to your core.
No, but
Then you're not
What
not
if-
even considered
what
a
if-
So there's machloket later on. Is it shogeg because you're faulty, your ironic thinking, your wrong ideology is considered as if it's not your fault. It's just that you developed wrong ideology, so it's shogeg. Or is it mezid? There's machloket. Some say that no, you should be responsible for the ideology that you adopt.
Yeah. Should.
no, but let's say a guy
Should be
is
responsible
in the
for
army.
ideology, but it's also, but you're also going against the core of humanity, core
The
beliefs.
very
of the Ten-
basic
The
belief.
Ten Commandments: do not kill.
So
Then
yeah,
you're
we're gonna
not
get to
even- you're not
I
even
know,
considered,
you're online. I'm gonna finish one idea and then get to none. So
Barbarian.
It's barbarian. Yeah, you're not even in line with humanity. You're not even.
But you
don't
see
even
from-
deserve
but you
your
see
day in
from-
court.
okay, but you see from the Gemara that ideology could be so strong that it's gonna knock out even the core value from your head. You're gonna honestly, that's what your Germans believe. Their ideology was such that they fanatically believe that it's okay to kill Jews. You see it from history.
In the same way, the Jew could do the same thing against someone.
Yeah, we're allowed to kill Amalek. Hashem, God told us that we're allowed to kill Amalek. But maybe it's different because we don't say that you're allowed to kill people. We say God told us to kill this Amalek.
So I
It's
was
a little
going to say,
different.
what if I could see how can a person forget, right, that he's not allowed to kill? If a guy is in the army and he's in battles all throughout 5 years, he's in battle. He's evading one day there, one day there. He's a habitual killer. For him, killing is like eating, basically. So if someone crosses him, for him to be able to kill is very easy. And I can see someone like that easily forget that he's not allowed to.
Chazak Baruch. I like this story.
Especially if he's ignorant of law.
Very well. So now that's why we need Hatra, because in those days, people were soldiers. There were a lot of them. So we need Hatra, they're not allowed to kill. So, but you see that it's not just to establish malignant intent. It's not just a formal precondition to death penalty, but it's to actually make sure that it's not shogeg.
Right.
Because you're not allowed to give punishment to shogeg.
You mean you make sure it is shogeg? Is by accident shogeg is on purpose?
The opposite.
Oh, okay. That's what I meant.
Good. It's make sure that it's not shogeg but mizid.
Right.
So if so it comes out like this. That if you're learning that Hatra is to establish that he is really trying to hurt him, trying to kill him, then the hating party, the two guys that hate each other, don't need Hatra. But if you're learning that it's in order to... Hey, it's okay. Here you go. But if you're learning that it's to make sure that you're not shogeg, then Talmid Chacham does not need a Hatra. That's why it says over here, Chaver, which means Talmid Chacham, scholars. By the way, you see, in the Gemara, Talmid Chacham is called Chaver. What does Chaver also mean? Friend. Why? That's why sometimes on the chat I say Chaverim, friends. Because Talmidei Chacham, those who come to learn, the Talmidei Chachamim, they are called friends, Chaverim. Why? Because in order to maintain the lifestyle of a scholar, someone who learns, you need support. You need support group. What's Chaver means? Chaver is Chaver, friend, someone who comes from the word Chibur. Chibur means to be connected. So we cannot just be Talmidei Chachamim in the vacuum, because there is so much resistance to learn, so much resistance to be someone who is Koveh Itim, someone who establishes times for learning, that he needs other people to bring him in. He needs other people to help him bring in. He needs a group. He cannot do it in isolation. And that's called support group. Every support group, when do we find support groups here in America? There's support group for drug addiction. Yeah, there's a support group for battered, abused children, battered wives, abused husbands. You know, any person who goes through a hard time, and he needs support. A Jew, by definition, is thrusted into a battle, into hard challenges. Just staying a Jewish, making sure that you have kosher food, making sure that you have you pray on time, just making sure that you make parnasah in a kosher way, that already is very challenging. And in order to not to fall down, we need to stay together and to give each other chizuk. Amen. So that's why it says, Talmid Chacham, does not require hatra'ah. Why? Why does Talmid Chacham does not require hatra'ah? A warning before we kill him? If he killed, we kill him
They know
without.
everything.
Because he knows. Because of
Because he knows, right?
Yes, he didn't.
Rabbi, there are a lot of people that know and they still forget or don't do or this.
Maybe a dimension. Could be. See?
You have to understand that we're talking about most cases. Gemara always gives us most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. There are exceptions
The
to
majority
every-
of the time, the Talmid Chacham won't need a warning.
Yes.
Because they know.
Good. Okay. So what we came out today with two different approaches to what hatra'ah is. And with difference in halakha, depending on which opinion you're going to take, there's going to be an exception. Okay, let's go on to the next topic. And that is, Mishnah said that it's because it says, Al pi shnayim eidim, through the mouth of two witnesses you could put someone to death, Shalot tiyeh Sanhedrin shamad mipi haturgaman. The Bedin or Sanhedrin, who is judging a death case, cannot hear the witness's testimony through a interpreter, meaning someone who's going to translate.
Why?
In other words, let's say the witnesses don't speak English or don't speak Hebrew, they speak French.
Yeah.
And they came and they're saying their testimony in French. If no one in Bedin actually understands French, and we need interpreter to translate the words, we don't have witnesses.
Why?
Because it's, first of all, it's a pasuk in Torah. We may not give a full explanation, but if we would have to try to speculate, I would give the following explanation. Killing somebody is so drastic of an approach that the Dayanim need to be so convinced that they have to hear it firsthand themselves from the witnesses.
Then you're limiting
It
the
makes
amount of
sense.
witnesses you can have.
It's okay. So we didn't kill one murderer. It's better to kill less murderers than to kill if you're not 100% sure.
Okay.
That's the lesson we're learning.
Better to let
If he
10
misunderstood, he
10
translated.
murderers go than to kill one innocent person.
Sometimes they translate and it's not exact translation. The guy's wife has own mistake. It's like, oh, I misunderstood. Oh, it's English. It's this. You know. Who can say the translator is accurate? He made me. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
What if
The
you have
guy is-
what if you have 2, 3 translators
Now it's interesting.
and confirming that they all have the same story?
Still no. No, once the Ra says it, no ways out of it. Now, it's interesting, there's a halakha that in order to be on Sanhedrin, the 70 person of the din, you have to speak what?
79.
All 70 languages. Now, we'll see now that you don't have to speak 70 languages, but as long as you understand. Like, for example, I understand Bukhari and I can't speak Bukhari. So let's see. It says in the Gemara like this. A story. Hanu lo, there were these people who were speaking foreign language. There are two Kamedi Rabba. They came in front of Rabba for the court case. And court proceedings. Uki Rabba Turgaman Benayo. And Rabba appointed an interpreter between them in order.
Turgaman is an interpreter.
Turgaman, yeah, interpreter, translator. And he pointed at a translator, and he was communicating with them through a translator. Hey, how could he do this? But Nan didn't learn. Shaloti, yes, Sanhedrin, Shamat, Mipia, Turgaman. Sanhedrin is not allowed to hear from an interpreter. Gemara answers, Rava made the Havayada Madhava. I mean, Rava was able to understand what they were saying in their language. But he did not know how to reply to them, to speak to them. So he used an interpreter to speak to them, but not to understand what they're actually saying.
Makes sense.
Turgaman.
Turgaman.
Terjüme. Now, on Turkish language, also terjüme.
That?
Tarjuma means to translate.
To translate.
And Azerbaijani also.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an Aramaic word then, I guess.
It's Aramaic or Hebrew?
Could be, it's, well,
Doesn't
by now
doesn't
it's
also
Hebrew.
Targum mean?
Targum means also translation.
Yeah.
Literally just means
A lot
translation.
of words are similar. Arabic, Turkish, and Farsi.
Yeah.
But there was
All together, it's like the way languages are translated. It's
isn't there a commentator, Targum?
commentator?
Targum
Commentate-
onkelos.
Targum.
Commentate. No, commentator is miforesh, lifaresh,
Okay.
and targum is just to translate.
No, that's a commentator. Targum.
But there is a commentator that's called targum, yes, but he's not really He's translating, but the way he's translating, we understand certain pshatim from his translation. So his main thing is to translate, but he helps us understand
It's
pshatim.
nickname. That's what he's known in the business. Translator.
That's Onkelos? That's Targum.
Yeah, yeah.
He was Greek, right?
No, he was Roman.
Or
Roman.
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 And he became Jewish, right?
Yeah, he became Jewish. He was actually nephew of Caesar Mark Antony.
Really? Oh. I heard back then, like, a lot of people were converting to Judaism. I heard at one point, the Roman Empire, 1/8 of the population under the Roman Empire was Jewish.
Nice. There's no indication like that in Gemara anywhere.
No, not in the Gemara. This is, you have to watch it on History Channel. I forgot what day.
Maybe Kuzarin. No?
No, it was there was a time that Judaism was very, very popular in the Roman Empire. I'm talking about the Roman, 1/8 of the Roman Empire. That means Egypt, Middle East, Asia that they controlled was 1/8 of the Roman Empire was Jewish. I mean, the Romans were threatened by it. That's part of the big reasons why they really came down on them.
We give them a lot of credit. Yeah, Italian people, I mean, if there is any connection between present day Italians and Rome, Italians were always very nice to Jews.
Yeah.
Very nice to Jews. I was in Italy, like, we didn't feel like that. It was like one people like it's funny, to foreigners to Jews. They saved a lot of Jews during the war, and there was
There was a ghetto in Italy, no?
Yeah.
The war, yeah, they were against the Jews in the war, I think. World War II, you talking about?
Well,
Mussolini.
Really? Yeah, Mussolini was very.
Mussolini was
He didn't kill his Jews, though.
No, Mussolini was a political, so to speak, entity. He stirred. He was leading to with Hitler's friend, right? But like everywhere, whatever the guy at the head does, it doesn't really reflect the people. Because people have the mind of their own. They personally like the Jews. He, for political reasons, he had to side with Hitler because he felt that he had a choice. He could have sided with America and with Russia, right? Why not?
Right.
But once you become Hitler's friend,
Right, like Finland also sided with Germans because they didn't like the
Russians.
Soviets.
Because Russians were always trying to get their
because
territory.
the
There
Soviets
was
wanted to get
war
their
before,
territory.
yeah?
Right.
So they
right,
sided
right.
with the Germans.
But once you're officially Hitler's friend, then you gotta, hate Jews.
Right.
So it has no bearing on what Italians really are. Okay. So now, new case. Already? Interesting case. Over here, we're going to have a little bit of mind twister. Let's look what Gemara says. Ila vituvia kreve de arva hava. Ilya and Tuvia.
Ilya?
A name like that, yeah.
Ilya?
Oh, Ilya, можно сказать Ilyas, more like your father's name, Ilyas.
Ilyusha.
Ilyusha. It's in the Gemara. It's an ancient Jewish name, Ilya. Ilya was until today. Tuvia. They were relatives of a Arav, co-signer to a loan. Meaning, Shimon borrowed from Levi $100, and he got two witnesses, let's say Reuben
This is
and-
the name like this. Elian in Israel.
Reuben and Yosef, and Levi and Shimon who borrowed from Levi, he had a co-signer who's going to guarantee his loan, who was, let's say, Zevulun. And it so happens to be that Zevulun, who was a co-signer, was relative of the two witnesses on the document. He was not a relative of the loaner, or the one who loaned the money, lent the money, and the one who borrowed the money. But the two witnesses were relatives of a co-signer. Rav Papa thought to say that they are eligible to testify about the loan because they are not related to lender and to borrower, who are principals of the case. So if they're not related to the main players, borrower and the lender, what's the difference if they're related to the co-signer? He's just a co-signer. What's the case? Shimon borrowed from Levi, and witnesses are not related to them. So it's a kosher witnesses. But look what Amar le Rav Huna, Braid Rav Yeshua le Rav Papa. Rav Huna, son of Rav Yeshua, said to Rav Papa, Ilet le love. Think about it. If Love doesn't have money, then Lav Batar Arva Azel, will the lender not go after the co-signer to collect the debt? Thus, the co-signer too must be considered a principal in this case, which disqualifies the relatives from testifying against him. In other words, what happens if the borrower doesn't pay money on time, that's stated in the case, in the shtar, in the document? The lender has to go to the co-signer and tell him, Shimon didn't pay, he gave me my money back. He gave me money, you have to pay. So therefore, the whole testimony, the whole document is not kosher because the witnesses are related to one of the litigants. Now, litigants are people who are going to be fighting each other now or have a dispute. Over here, they're not related neither to lender nor to borrower, but they're only related to the co-signer. And Rav Papa thought that, look, it's still good. What would you say, like Rav Papa or like Rav Huna? Rav Huna told him, you're right that right now the witness is not related to any of the litigants. But if the lover, the one who borrows, is not going to pay, co-signer is going to step in as one of the people who is going to be obligated. He's going to become a litigant. So we gotta include him. We have to see as if even now he's already a litigant, and therefore it's not kosher.
What's that word mean?
Litigant, one of the
They're gonna be
disputers.
party to a lawsuit.
Yeah, one of the people in the lawsuit who are fighting, either lender, borrower.
So what's the case here?
One person borrowed from another,
Yeah.
and he made for himself a co-signer. And he got two witnesses. These two witnesses happen to be
Co-signer is that someone who.
It's called Oreb, and what he does was he says he takes upon himself responsibility to pay if the borrower does not pay.
Right.
So Rav Papa said that the case is kosher, where the witnesses are kosher, because they're not related to any, not to lender, not to borrower. But Rav Huna told him, no, if the borrower doesn't pay on time, what's going to happen?
Co-signer case.
The lender is going to go and take co-signer to court. And it so happens to be that the witnesses are related to
The
co-signer.
co-signer. So it's a problem.
So therefore it's a problem.
You need two witnesses for a loan, for any contract.
For any contract, yeah.
What if there's a star? You need it?
Yeah, you need to. We're starting with two witnesses, yeah.
If you borrow money, you need witnesses?
You could borrow money without witnesses. But if you want to have a document, or if you want to solidify, or you want to ever take your a borrower to court, if he doesn't pay, you don't trust him, then you need 2 witnesses. 2 witnesses could be without a star, but even if you make a star, you should have 2 witnesses on the to sign on the star. Although, this I have to find out. What if there's just a star, no witnesses?
People borrow money like
Star
this,
with
they make
stamp?
star.
Yeah, the halacha is that even
An
if you,
agreement between a borrower and a lender, why not?
That's a star?
Contract. Start
It's
the
a
contract.
contract.
Stars? No, but you need a witness to have the contract.
Yeah, you have to notarize.
maybe there was no star yet.
Notarized, it has to be notarized. There has to be some
Notarized
sort
is
of-
like a witness.
Notarization is, right, or an acknowledgement by an escrow or.
No, but notarized, you just notarize one signature, right?
Notarized means somebody in person the people showed up and did this. It's like a witness,
It's a witness. That's exactly what it is.
right?
Otherwise, how can it work? Someone could just say, "Oh, he made it up."
Right.
So it's a problem if they are related to cosigner.
Yeah. So there's another case, interesting case. It's brought down in. Can I borrow your Gemara because it's in the reef. In the back, one of them for Shem brings the reef. He brings the following case. Sure. There's our reef. Please like this. It says like this. Katav kol nechosov libed bnei adam. There was one person. He gave in writing. He made a document that he is giving all his possessions to 2 people. So let's say to
Like a will.
Reuven and Shimon, like a will to Reuven and Shimon. והעדים כשרים לזה ופסולים לזה. And he got 2 witnesses. So it happens to be that the 2 witnesses are relatives of one of the people that he's giving his possession, he's all of his assets to. But they're not relatives to the second one. Let's say he's giving it to his son, and he's giving it to his son-in-law. And he got 2 witnesses. 2 other sons are witnesses. 2 other sons of his. So 2 sons are related to his son, but they're not related to his son-in-law. So Rabbi Yochanan says, pasul. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Resh Lakish says, kasher. Rabbi Yochanan says that you can't give his possessions to any one of the 2 people. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says you give it to the kasher one, to the kosher one. Explain to me like this, that what's the logic? But Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it's pasul, he says like this, that we view the testimony of these witnesses as follows: that he gave it to these 2 people. In other words, he gave it, and they view he's giving as one giving, but then it splits between 2 people. Since we cannot believe them, what's the concept of relatives being related to one of the litigants? What's the concept? Why if someone is a relative? We don't believe them. They are not saying the truth. Someone who's related is not believed. So we do not believe that he gave it to this person. The Shtar says that he gave it to 2 people. But we don't believe part of that statement. We cannot believe them that he gave it to
On the
person,
side of the relative.
to the person that is related to them. If we do not believe that part, then we cannot believe the first part either.
Right. It all falls apart.
The whole thing
The
falls
whole
apart.
thing is void. No.
However, Rish Lakish says, look at this, that to the person to whom, to the person who is related to them, we don't believe that he gave. But to the person, we don't believe that he gave to him. But to the person whom they are not related to, we do believe. It says that he gave it to two people. In the star, it says, in the document says he gave it to two people. We're able to split it and not to pay attention to that part that he gave to two people. We could say, as if he gave it to one person. Now, don't ask me, are we going to give the whole thing to that one person? No. We're going to give exactly what it states in this document to this one person. His part. And the other part is going to remain by the donor. Right? So there's machloket over here. Do we pass like Rabbi Yochanan or Rish Lakish? It's first, Ran brings that most poskim paskin like Rabbi Yochanan, and we don't give.
It falls apart.
Falls apart. But there are two poskim, and one of them is very big, Rabbeinu Ephraim and Ramban. Ramban paskin that we do give, we split it.
Because one is enough?
No, not because one is enough. What do you mean one is enough?
The one, not the non-relative is enough to validate the contract as a witness? Why is he saying that
They both are related to him.
Oh, they're both related to him.
Yeah.
Oh, both witnesses are related to him.
Yeah. They're both witnesses related to one guy.
Ah, okay. I thought one of the witnesses is related to one of the guys.
I never said that. Two witnesses are related.
Okay, I didn't realize. Okay.
But they're related to one guy,
Okay.
not two guys.
Right.
So,
It's a conflict of interest. Come on.
It is a conflict of interest, yeah.
It's a serious conflict of interest.
so
I don't know how Ramban would even say that's okay, based on what?
now what's Ramban's proof?
Yeah.
Because in our Gemara, it says that if two witnesses are related to the Arev,
Arab is what?
the cosigner. Let's go back to our Gemara. Two guys, one guy from another. He got two witnesses to testify, but they were relatives of the cosigner. So we paskin over there, it's not good because eventually both of them are gonna go. The one who lent money, is going to go after cosigner, and they are related, so we cannot believe them. We're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to charge the cosigner, since we're not going to be able to charge the cosigner. Now we cannot charge the lender either, the borrower either. Can you imagine? Even though we have two witnesses that this guy who was not related actually borrowed. But based on these witnesses, we cannot make him pay. Because in case he doesn't pay, we're going to go to a cosigner. Now, but the question is like this. Okay, obviously he's not paying. How did it get to the point that they went to Bedin to argue about it? Because he's not trying to pay, right? He's not paying. So if he's not paying, we'll already have to go to cosigner. So it never is going to get to the case where if he pays on his own volition, so then it's never gonna. We never have to come on to Eidim. We only need witnesses when he's not paying in order to make him pay.
Right, and they'll never try to make him pay because then it's going to go after the relative. Because then the case is going to go to the relative.
But more than that, if he already denies paying, then automatically it already goes to the relative.
Right.
So and they're related, so it's null.
Right.
But we could claim that can we even summon him to Bedin? Do we have a case even? Do we have even a case here or not? Can we even summon and ask him?
No.
And the answer is no, because there's no kosher
Right,
witnesses.
there's no right.
There's no kosher witnesses. You're saying good. Yeah. So Zez Ramban, it's only in that case. If you don't have a kosher witnesses because by denying he's going to go back to the co-signer, that's why it's null. Only in that case Gemara says it's not kosher when they're related. Because they are both related to the litigant.
Yeah.
But in this case he learns that there one guy with this giving of the matana, giving of the assets to two people, since one guy totally free, he's not related to anybody, he's never was related, and since Gemara did not pick on this case to tell us even a better case, Gemara always like this tells us the case that will be where I will be the most information for me, so I could learn all the other cases by myself, because Gemara can't tell us all the cases, it's going to be too long. So Gemara wants to tell us the most drastic case where it doesn't work, and I'll know the easier cases from there. So Ramban says like this, why did Gemara tell me the case of Mal Velove where they're related to the co-signer? That Gemara considers that the most drastic. If we could infer from there, the Gemara itself would hold that in the case of when one guy gave to two people and they only related to this guy, is it more of a problematic case of relationship or less of the problematic in the Gemara's case?
Must be more.
Look, no, it's
Less.
less. It's less. I know what you meant. You meant
The Gemara's case is the guy that borrowed the co-signer, the witnesses are related to him, the guy that borrowed,
right.
as opposed to vice versa, the guy who lent. Right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but I think the biggest telling piece of information over here that let's say he borrowed $100, and now co-signer has to pay $100. On all of this sum, there is a related witnesses. But in the case of the shtar of giving of the one guy gave $1,000 to his son and not his son-in-law, on that other $1,000, we don't have any problem. So it's less of a problematic case. It's more easier case. It's easier case to give. It's harder case to make it. It's harder to make this a case of pasul because it's easier to give because at least they're not related. And Gemara doesn't pick this case because Gemara should tell us in the case where it's hardest to make it pasul, tell us there and we'll know the easier cases. But Gemara doesn't take this case. Gemara takes a case that's more harder to give and tells us in this case it's not good. We'll learn from here that in the easier case it's good. Ramban's svar. In easier case, the reason why Gemara did not pick on this case to tell us that over there is permitted. So that's how he knows that it's permitted. It's like a deduction from the Gemara.
Okay. I feel like I need a diagram with this one. Too many people involved. I get lost after 3 people.
Just getting late.
Just give me
The lights are not going out today.
Baruch Hashem.
I'll stay here till the lights come on.
Okay, 86.
Usually less than the lights went out at 9:40.
Rabotai, this is
It'll work
a
this week.
interesting case. We know that we're going to learn a couple of halachot about neder of tzedakah.
Neder of tzedakah. Meaning someone makes a neder
Uh-huh.
to give tzedakah. What are the laws?
Yeah.
Okay.
So generally, when one makes a neder, he prohibits a permissible item on himself.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "This is mutar. This is an apple. It's not prohibited. I'm not going to eat it." On the other hand, if one were to say, "I won't eat this apple," he should still be permitted to eat it, and this should not consider a vow.
An apple.
Yeah.
What does that cover? Literally an apple?
Meaning all anadarim is to make something permitted, prohibited.
Right.
When it comes to tzedakah, however, different criteria apply. Simply by saying that he will give certain sum of money to tzedakah would constitute a vow, even though the language normally utilizes to make a neder was not employed. One should therefore be obligated to give the sum to tzedakah. Meaning like this: if a person says, "I make a neder not to eat an apple," it's a neder. If he says, "I won't eat the apple," it's not a neder. If a person says, "I won't eat an apple,"
I
it's
won't?
not, I will not eat it. It's not a neder.
Right.
It's not leather?
Yes, it's not a neder.
What would make it a matter?
Well, what is
I'm making a neder that I'm not going to eat.
oh. I'm vowing that I'm not gonna.
Yeah, he has to, he has to invoke the language of a vow. And that's why there's a Mishnah in the Nedarim that gives us different ways Jews use to make a vow. Jews, they use different, that's why by Kol Nidrei we say Kol Nidrei, V'kunachei, V'kunamei, V'kunasei, V'kinuye. We use all those languages when we invoke them again and say, all the languages are null and void. Okay.
Right.
But anyway, but you need the language of that. But if a person says, I won't do it, it's not a neder. It's a very important piece of information. I mean, it sounds like you're promising something. Like you say to yourself, I want to hit you again. Not necessarily, it's a promise. You know? But anyway, you tell your wife, I'm not going to hit you anyway. But no, that's not a problem. But anyway, unless you make a neder. Okay, fine. Now, but when it comes to tzedakah, you say, I will give $100. I give $200. It's another boom. What's the difference? So you see the difference. When it comes to nadarim, you got to invoke the language of neder. But over here, I will give already means a neder. So it says Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, because it says in Pasuk about korbanot, motzi sefatecha tishmor va'asita kasher nadarat al Hashem Elokecha. Gemara says, bepicha zu tzedakah. Sha'afilu ba'amira lechud mechuyev litin tzedakah. If a person just said, I will give, he becomes obligated. Why is it like that? It's more severe when it comes to holy things, when it comes to Bet HaMikdash, Korbanot, and Tzedakah. Just saying I will give is another. One therefore be obligated to give that sum to tzedakah.
Even if you say it to yourself, or you have to say it to somebody.
If you made it audible. If you thought about it, this is the whole discussion. What if you thought about it? No. At the end of the halakha, if you thought about it, it's not obligatory. But if you said it, it's obligatory.
Even to yourself, you're saying, right? Even
Yeah,
if there's nobody else.
yeah.
Audible.
I don't know.
Doesn't audible mean somebody else have to hear?
It's audible to you, it's audible also. One who did not fulfill what he said would be violating a positive and negative commandment. Okay. Now, avoid making vows. As we established, one should avoid making vows. A vow to give tzedakah is usually not an exception to this rule. In other words, try not to give vows to give tzedakah either. However, there are certain exceptions, as we will explain. Inspire others. One is permitted to make a vow to give tzedakah if by doing so other people will want to emulate him and also give tzedakah. 12. It says in Chidah. Chidah says, which is a Sephardic Chacham, that you're allowed to make another to inspire others. However, it is prohibited to publicly say that you intended to give tzedakah to induce another person to do likewise when you have no intention of actually giving. One has to make sure that he honors his commitment. In other words, you're not allowed to say, I will give if you're not really planning to give. I'm only saying it in order to motivate him. Now it's like this. You feel that if you'll say, I'll give $1,000, other people will also give.
It's like
But
you're
don't-
bidding for the Torah and someone bids and you bid and they bid and you bid and you bid.
It does help. It does help. It works like that, right? It works like that. It motivates others. But don't just say things and let's say I will say I'll give $50,000, $100,000, but I'll just say I'm not going to give it. And they, meanwhile, they will give, and then I'll just say, okay, fine, I did my work, I read them, I'm not giving. No, you always say as much as you can actually give. I guess
Is it Geneva?
it teaches you a little bit that you can't, it's not a leeway, even though you should motivate others, but you can't abuse, you can't lie either. That's the concept here.
Is it Geneva if, let's say, a shul hires somebody to do that?
For sure.
To outbid
For sure.
bidders?
Yeah. Time of danger.
Yeah, that sounds like neighbor.
Time
Maybe
of
it's
danger.
willingly, they did it themselves.
Actually, people do that in my show. It pisses me off.
I feel like people do it on
What do
purpose.
they do?
What? When there's an auction for Aliyah in the high holidays,
They always
one or
wait
two
for-
guys just said, no, it's too low. Oh, more. I think to myself, what the hell are you doing?
When the
Up the
Bukharians
price.
never do that, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I don't go to Bukharin show, but it's a Chabad show. But the people aren't all Chabad. They just whatever.
Okay, whatever. Let's
Well,
go.
what if you make a pledge,
What's
but
the
then you
pledge?
don't have the money anymore?
Georgetown.
It's if you don't have money, I don't know how you can.
No, you had the money, let's say, like
Uh-huh.
somebody won money in the lottery or something, right? They make a pledge, but then they go and lose everything.
Or in stocks.
I think that you're patur, but I didn't see it yet in this book. Let's figure this
Can you
out.
make it a conditional pledge? Like, I'll give $20,000 if I make $1 million.
Condition always. works.
Tesla goes to 50,000.
If Tesla goes to 50,000, I'm gonna give 20,000 too.
Yes.
Tesla
Condition.
will go to 50,000.
If it
What?
does in the next 20
In what
years,
generation?
20 years,
when he sets up a colony in Mars.
no. When he has like 15
You
gigafactories
gotta stop killing people
going
first.
globally, killing people, he didn't kill anybody.
Tesla,
He didn't kill anybody. You didn't read the whole news, bro.
the Tesla car.
They twisted the news, bro.
They did?
Hey, you gotta do some more research.
Okay. Time of danger. Now we
There's no one in
said.
the car seat, or they fakely pressed the buckle. They buckled the seatbelt with no one in the seat, and
No,
they were
that's not-
sitting in the back seat.
Somebody got killed though.
They burned alive because they weren't in the driver's seat.
Okay.
The way the self-driving technology works is that if you touch the wheel, it disengages the,
Okay.
the self-driving.
Guys,
If you
guys,
touch it goes straight to a tree.
Let's do
Not-
4 more points and we stop. It's late. So it said like this. Again, we're talking about the situation where one is allowed to actually obligate himself in tzedakah. We said that normally, don't obligate yourself. Say bli neder. But in certain times, you're not allowed to say bli neder. One,
not allowed to say
you're not allowed to say bli neder.
When is this?
One is time of danger. It says that if a person finds himself in imminent danger, like we find by Yaakov Avinu when he was running away from Esav, he, in the beginning questions of Vayitzeh, he
Right.
obligated himself to separate 1/10 from all his possessions if he's going to be safely go to Lavan's house, safely come back. And Chachamim teach us that you have to say Meir Neder B'Shad Sakana. Okay. One is permitted and even encouraged to make a vow in order to improve oneself. Therefore, for example, one who oversleeps may make a vow to give a certain time to tzedakah if he continues to wake up late. In this manner, he will be encouraged to improve his. Now it's like this. Let's say you're doing something improper. You could obligate yourself to pay to tzedakah every time you stumble.
But don't you have to pay the 10th anyway? Or you're saying something in addition to that?
We're talking about an addition of
In
this.
addition.
In addition, yeah.
You can't like make a nether to give a 10th.
Well, today, with the obligation to give a 10th is not so fixed as it used to be at the time of the Mikdash.
Mm-hmm.
You could say B'li Neder and not give 10. You could say I'm not making another. I know people who are very particular about it, and they make big money because they are very particular about separating 10th. But really, it's not chiyuv. Okay, appropriate situations. When one is in a situation where it's appropriate to accept upon himself the obligation to give tzedakah, for example, his score. When one wants to give money as a merit for one's parents, one should also make a neder. For now, sometimes you can't just say bli neder. For my parents, for hashkava, no, you're supposed to give it because it's for it's honor of your parents. Okay. Now, what if one says that he intends to give tzedakah? Is he obligated? He tells another person. It would constitute a vow of tzedakah, and one would be obligated to fulfill it. 17. Shulchan Aruch says in Yeridea.
Can I ask you a question? What about a time component to tzedakah pledge?
Oh, we had it before.
Do you have to say that or no? Or you don't? You just make a pledge and you give it whenever you have the money.
There is a cap of 3 holidays. Shalosh regalim. After that is already is late, and person gets a isur of Baal Te'acher.
So 3 holidays means like a year, basically.
Like a year.
Maybe Shalosh regalim is a year.
What? To do what?
To give a pledge. Let's say you pledge something in shul.
To give a pledge on, to give
But
on
it's not
Sunday.
for Maser, right?
No, he said he pledged without specifying a day. So then he doesn't have to give it next day, doesn't have to give it next month. But he has Shalosh regalim, 3 holidays, basically a year to pay it off.
It's not like you're obligated right away, then, right? To give it. I thought you're obligated right away.
Depends. What do you mean by being obligated? Obligation right away means that you will have to pay 1 day. Yes. In that respect, you are obligated. But if you're saying obligated means to give it, or someone could ask you, you have to give it now? No. Obligation means that 1 day you have to give it. Within the year you have to give it. That respect obligation. Similarly, if one hires a poor person and they agree on a certain wage, it would constitute a vow, and one would have to honor it. Well, it's a different halacha. It's paying a poor or paying a worker, and it's also like a vow. Okay. Then it says, oh, look at this. Delaying and keeping one's vow. When one makes a commitment to give money to a poor, he is obligated to do so immediately. If the poor people are present, or meaning, if poor people, right, there's 2 different things. If there are poor people that came and asked for money, and they need food, clothing, shelter, whatever they need it now, so then it's different. Then he's obligated, and he promises them, then he has to give right away. I was mistaken. I was thinking about in terms of shul. Maybe shul also sometimes need money right now. But, however, so if we're talking about poor people that need money now, then he's obligated right away if he said, I'll give. If there are no poor people who need funds at the time, then one should set the money aside for such an eventuality. Meaning like this, that there's no poor people, and he doesn't know who to give money to, then he should set aside 1/10. Not to give it now, give it later. Nowadays, since we have common knowledge of many poor people, one would have to give the money to them immediately after making his commitment. If one does not, he would be violating Torah prohibition of Baal Te'acher, delaying somewhat. This prohibition is derived from the pasuk Ki tidor neder Hashem lo ta'acher shalmo. If you make another, don't hold it. When you make it, okay. Now there are, however, a number of exceptions to this. Will be explained. Stipulate. One may stipulate when making a vow of tzedakah to put the money aside and distribute it to poor people a little at a time as he sees fit. Meaning, a person could have made a vow, but he could also stipulate, I know I could, let's say he separated $100,000. I know I could, there are people who could use it right now. But this money I'm not giving away right away. I'm giving it little by little. You could say that. Specific poor person, one who made a vow to give tzedakah, but at the time of the vow designated a specific person as the recipient, may hold the money until it can be given to that poor person. If you specify, I'm going to give this to this person, you can give it to him right away, you can hold it. Public forum, one who commits to giving tzedakah in the public forum by making a pledge to charity collector, which is Gabbai of the Shul, does not violate the transgression of Baal Te'acher until the charity collector asks him to redeem his pledge. Similarly, if one pledges money to an institution, he is not obligated to pay it until asked by the institution. However, if the institution expects payment without follow-up, one would be obligated to immediately redeem his pledge. If one made a pledge and the charity collector of that organization does not know about it, one would have to inform him so he can collect the money owed. Why? He is talking. Okay. We're going to talk about 23. We're going to talking about the machshava. But I have to see 21. I have to look into this because according to this, if a person gives to the pledge to an institution, then he has to give, when they asked him, he has to give. He doesn't have shalosh regalim. I have to look into this. Okay. Why is it like that?
I'm a little lost. What do you mean shalosh regalim? What's that?
Gemara Shana says that you have shalosh regalim to pay out.
It's probably assuming that if you're not asked. If you're not asked, you can't take forever.
That's
I'm assuming.
It's interesting.
It's because you make a pledge and they never ask you, you can't, okay, I said I'm not paying because they didn't ask me. No, you have to pay.
They didn't send you a bill.
Alright, they didn't send you, but you still have to pay.
Come on. Don't sleep on it. I think this year was pretty good. The Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur was better than the previous year, I think.
In terms of collecting money?
No, turnaround, like people, the space and turnaround, I think.
Both years are good.
But we didn't, we lost some money. We didn't make money.
cover?
We didn't cover. Because one guy pledged a lot of money, didn't give. I think if he would give, we would have. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I know.
Oh, are you serious?
If he gave, we would break even.
Let me guess, he's not Bukharian.
No.
Why?
No, I remember.
Whatever.
I don't
Okay.
understand why he did it. Why he did that.
Maybe he still gives. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see.
I know.
He has time.
You're the gabbai, right?
Let's just
Listen, Rob, I don't like organizations like this losing money because it doesn't make much money as to begin with. So, if someone's making
If
pledges,
you can,
he has to make
know that
he has
you
to
can pay, why would
please be reminded of that. I realize with money you can't be Mr. Nice Guy. You just can't. It doesn't work.
Yes and no.
No, you can't. It just doesn't work.
As long as they don't step on you.
Step on it.
As long as they don't step on you.
Right, exactly. But
I'll speak to Nick about
human
what
nature.